A natural step forward. That's how House Speaker Kevin McCarthy described launching a possible impeachment inquiry into President Biden. This in light of the alleged evidence uncovered during recent investigations. Here's McCarthy discussing the issue on Fox News.
That provides Congress the apex of legal power to get all the information they need. But now when you look at this, it looks like a culture of corruption that's been happening within the entire Biden family. You've got to get to be able to answer that to the American public. The American public deserves that answer. Who's lying? What information went on? Who paid?
McCarthy said last week that the inquiry was needed to overcome the stonewalling of congressional investigators. He says the goal is transparency about the Biden family's business records. This following testimony from Devon Archer about President Biden meeting with his son's business partners when he was vice president, and concerns raised by IRS whistleblowers regarding Hunter Biden's tax records. Biden has repeatedly denied having participated in or having any knowledge of his family's business activities. And the latest on the Maui wildfire probe, Hawaiian Electric says it did not remove any evidence related to the wildfire investigation. This is as it faces multiple lawsuits over the fires. The Washington Post was the first to report the utility may have removed evidence from the scene in Lahaina. But a spokesperson for Hawaiian Electric says the Post story is not accurate and that the utility is letting investigators access any equipment that was removed. The company is facing multiple lawsuits from people who say it should have shut down power lines ahead of the fire due to high wind and red flag warnings. The fires are to blame for 115 deaths, and nearly 400 people are still listed as missing. Thousands of pilots allegedly lied about their medical conditions. Many might not actually be fit to fly. This reportedly affects cargo planes, but also commercial airlines. Here are the details.
The Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, is reportedly investigating 5,000 pilots who might be unfit to fly. That's according to the Washington Post, which reports that the pilots in question are veterans who used to fly for the military. Thousands of pilots allegedly fail to disclose to the FAA that they collect veterans' benefits for disabilities. Those disabilities could render them unfit to fly, but disclosing them to the FAA is required by law. Out of the 5,000 pilots under investigation, 600 reportedly fly for commercial airlines. The rest fly cargo planes, corporate clients, or private tours. Experts say not disclosing health problems poses a serious danger. But pilots say the FAA's mental health policies are too strict and counterproductive. Some warn that the system discourages pilots from getting help for mental health issues. The director of aviation at Ramos Law in Colorado said on the issue, "It's just absolutely brutal. You can't go see a therapist, you can't go see a counselor, you are constantly worried about not only losing the certificate in your pocket and the ability to feed your family, but I'll be very honest with you, you're going to lose your identity." He says those standards are largely at fault for the pilot shortage. The FAA issued a statement on the issue saying the FAA encourages pilots to seek help if they have a mental health condition, since most, if treated, do not disqualify a pilot from flying. The administration also says it already implemented changes to eliminate stigma around mental health issues in the aviation community.
The IRS is extending 401k tax breaks for high earners by putting a 2-year freeze on a controversial new rule. What could that mean for you? 2 more years of tax deductions on 401k contributions. The new Secure 2.0 Act applies to people with Social Security wages above $145,000 in the year before. It's for people participating in 401k, 403b, or 457b plans. When this rule goes into effect, catch-up contributions for that group will no longer be counted as pre-tax contributions. Instead, it will count as after-tax contributions to Roth IRA accounts. But if you're 50 or older, you're exempt. The American Retirement Association, in one of over 100 organizations that demanded a 2-year delay in implementing the new rule, which would have started in 2024. But the coalition wrote to the U.S. House in June saying many among them would not be able to adapt their systems, so they could not implement the rule quickly enough. The IRS says the freeze will help taxpayers transition smoothly to the new requirement. A popular item for cooling things down finds itself in the hot seat. NTD's Daniel Monahan has the story on the Biden administration's proposed new rules for ceiling fans.
The Department of Energy has come up with some new rules that would impose energy efficiency standards on ceiling fans. The move follows similar restrictions unveiled against other household appliances like gas stoves and generators. The agency estimates that consumers could save around $4 per year with its new guidelines, while manufacturers may have to shell out about $87 million annually in increased equipment costs. The DOE's ban on gas stoves also projects meager savings for consumers, a figure recently updated to an even lower amount. The Association of Home Appliance Manufacturers says the original proposal to save consumers 13 cents per month in utility costs has been revised to just 9 cents per month. At that figure, the projected savings will come to just about $1 a year. Republicans from the House Committee on Small Business are criticizing the proposal, highlighting the harms it would have on small businesses in the ceiling fan industry. They say the rule would force many small business fan manufacturers to redesign their products and could put between 10 and 30% of them out of business altogether. The DOE says the proposed standards wouldn't take effect until 2028. And would give people more energy-efficient options to choose from, while substantially reducing air pollution. Around 85 million American households use at least one ceiling fan, with a quarter using 4 or more. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
A Biden administration official says the U.S. may further limit the number of alcoholic drinks it recommends Americans consume, and could even follow Canada's example. George Koob is the director of the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. He told the Daily Mail there are no health benefits to drinking alcohol and that federal recommendations are not likely to increase the amount of recommended drinks, but could decrease them to be on par with Canada's recommendations. Right now, the U.S. recommends no more than 2 drinks a day for men and 1 a day for women. In Canada, the recommendation is no more than 2 drinks per week. U.S. recommendations are up for review in 2025. Republican Congressman Troy Nehls told Fox News that Washington has no business advising Americans on alcohol consumption. He called it part an effort to control every aspect of people's lives. The Distilled Spirits Council Vice President of Science and Health said officials should have scientific backing before making new recommendations. The United States is seeking a short-term extension to a long-standing science and technology agreement with China. U.S. lawmakers have intellectual property theft concerns. The landmark agreement was first signed in 1979 and set a framework for the United States and China to cooperate on scientific research and technology development. The pact has been renewed every 5 years and was set to expire August 27th. A U.S. State Department spokesperson said the short-term 6-month extension will keep the agreement in force while the U.S. tries to negotiate new terms. The department said the deal provides consistent standards for government scientific cooperation. The agreement renewal is under intense scrutiny. U.S. lawmakers pointed out that it risks intellectual property theft and threatens national security. Former U.S. Chief Technology Officer Michael Kratsios, who worked on the last renewal of the Science and Technology Agreement, said that allowing it to expire would help refocus U.S. cutting-edge R&D investments into venues where they are far less vulnerable to being used against U.S. national interests. The House Select Committee on China has urged the U.S. government not to renew the agreement. Chinese embassy spokesperson Liu Pengyu said in an emailed statement that Beijing's views and positions on China-U.S. science and technology relations are consistent, and that science and technology is an open business.